What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another video. So before we start this one, I want to say the website is up and live again. We're back up and running. We got new shirts. This is one of my new designs. Got another design up there. You'll have to go check it out. So I'll link the website up in the corner and in the description. And I'm also working on some hats and some other things. This is just a sample that we got in. Just going through it, making sure we're good on everything, and then we'll order up the hats. We'll have that on the website and everything else I'm working on right now as well. So stay tuned for that stuff. So what we got to do to the truck today? One, we got to change the oil. It's been 500 miles since we've rebuilt this motor with this break-in oil. So it's time to flush it out and put in our synthetic oil. So what I'm going to be running for oil is the Schaeffers Supreme 9000. This is actually a very, very good oil. Yeah, I know it's not the Volkswagen, whatever, 501 point whatever spec, but it's a very good oil. A lot of people recommended it to me for this motor, so we're gonna try it out, see how it works. And another thing we gotta do while we're changing this oil is we gotta pull the oil pan off and get that leak fixed. So ever since I rebuilt this motor, I've had an oil pan leak. I don't know how it's leaking. I used OEM sealant, read the book, did everything by the book on this motor, and somehow that oil pan's still leaking. So we're gonna pull that off and see what's going on with that, reseal it, and hopefully that'll cure all of our leaks. That is the last leak we have. So we've had a few weird leaks going on, but we got them all fixed except this oil pan. So let's get this thing fired up, get it warmed up. We'll pull all the oil out, and then we'll pull the pan and get that sealed back up. All right, guys, she's all warmed up. So the first thing we got to do is get all the oil out so we can drop the pan. So what I'm going to be using is this oil extraction pump. I got this on Amazon. I'll link it if you guys want to check it out. Really, really sweet tool. So you got these long tubes that you hook up to here, and then there's two different sizes of the extension that plugs into that one. And what you do with this is you take your dipstick out, you shove those tubes down the dipstick tube into the oil pan, and that'll just basically a big vacuum pump. So you just pump it up. You can also hook an air compressor to it to create the vacuum, and you just pump all the oil out, and it's much easier, and it's really needed on something like this. Originally, this motor was turned horizontally and tilted back. So I have the oil pan, you can see there, the drain plug, I have a valve on there, but the drain plug is in the middle of the pan, and the whole motor is tilted back right now. So when you drain the oil, there's still quite a bit of oil left in the bottom back half of the pan. So this is going to get most of the oil out, a lot more than it would just draining it. And another thing, that drain plug is right above my axle. So that's why I put the valve in there, so I can hook a hose to it and run it down, but you still don't get all the oil out. So we're gonna do it this way. I've actually never used this. You've seen me use it for bleeding brakes, but I haven't tried it on the oil yet. So you're gonna be learning with me. We're gonna see how it works, and hopefully it's faster, cleaner, and easier to do. There we go. So she's pumping oil. You have to give it a few pumps here and there to keep creating that vacuum, but we'll just pump it till it's not sucking any more oil. And then we can pull the pan off and see how much oil this thing actually pulls out compared to just draining it through the pan. Well guys, this oil filter is packed full of oil and I actually had to let it drain. Unlike before when I had that drain back valve screwed up. So now I know it's working for a fact, so that makes me feel a lot better about this motor. So now we got to get the oil pan off. Really the only thing that's in our way is the steering, so the shock and then that upper tie rod. So we just got to pull it off the steering box here, unhook that shock, and then we can drop that pan out. Alright guys, there's the pan. So that's how much oil is left. So very, very little. If I had this thing, you know, tilted back like the engine is sitting in there with the drain plug in the center, which is right there, it's actually more towards the front, there'd be a lot of oil stuck in the back of the pan. So that pump is definitely nice for something like this. And also, it sure looks like the front of this pan was leaking. There's oil all the way on this mating surface, whereas a lot of the sides you don't really see a whole lot of oil except in the back, where obviously it was tilted back, so as soon as I cracked the pan the oil would run to the back, but there's not much oil around anywhere else except the front. So I'm pretty sure it was the pan leaking somehow. So we're going to get this cleaned up. So I'm going to give the ultra black oil resistant sealant a try. Hopefully that'll help seal it up. So let's get it cleaned up, get the block cleaned up, and then we'll get this pan resealed. Alright guys, we got the pan on, just finger tight for now, so we got to give it an hour to kind of let that sealant set up a little bit, and then we can torque it, and then we got to give it 24 hours to fully cure before we can run the truck. Alright guys, we got the truck all back together. It's now the next day. Been about 20 hours or so, so I'm gonna call that good enough for that sealant. So now I just gotta fill it up with oil. So I got 5 quarts of that Schaeffers. Here it is again. It's supposed to be some really good oil. I've actually never run it before. So another thing about the oil on this motor and how this thing is set up. So when the motor was in the car and it was tilted back like that, the dipstick obviously would read right, but now that it's standing up vertically, the dipstick's gonna read a lot higher. So I'm gonna dump 4.5 quarts in, and I'm gonna kind of use that as a reference point on my dipstick. So let's fill this thing up with oil, see how it runs, and make sure that that pan is sealed up and not leaking anymore. Alright guys, there's the dipstick. So you can see it's a little bit high. That's 4.5 quarts in there. So I'm not going to worry about punching it. It's actually a lot closer than I thought it was. Alright guys, there it is. Running good. No leaks so far. I still got to go bring it out and drive it, but I really hope there's no more leaks in that pan. So guys, seriously, go check out the link for that oil pump, that extraction pump. That thing is so nice, easy. You don't have to crawl underneath your car if you have, you know, a lowered car. You don't have to jack it up or get on jack stands. You just shove the tube down through the dipstick, pump it out, and it actually sucks out a lot more oil, especially something like this where the motor is not at the factory angles and where they place the drain plug. So you're not gonna get all the oil out with just draining it in something like this. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go check out my website. Even if you don't wanna buy anything, check it out, see what I got. Even if you just want a sticker or something. Got some cool stuff on the way, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys in the next video.